Hello everybody. We are going to get started momentarily. We're going to let some people filter in. Just another typical live UI UX review, but I do have a good rant coming. I hope it's going to be good. But I'm going to start off with this rant. I made the mistake of, engaging in Twitter arguments here recently, and I just have to get this off my chest because I don't like excuse makers, and that's what this rant is going to be about. What is up, Second Win? Pranav's Productions, hello. Camellia Sawant. Osama. I think that's how you pronounce that. What is up, everybody? Yeah, probably not going to be as popular of a stream just because it's the day after Thanksgiving here in the US, but we'll find out. Yeah, definitely drank a little bit too much last night. By the way, check this out. I'm just kidding. It's actually not real. It's like fake, and my kids they took it and made it look like they were splashing in my face, and I jolted back. It's like this fake thing. Anyhow. All right. So before we begin with my little rant and the live UI UX review, do want to mention check out DesignCourse.com if you haven't yet. Links in the top line of the YouTube description. It's coming in 38 days, January 4th. Very exciting. Actively working on finishing it. It will be finished by then. Enter your email to be notified when it releases, though. Basically, it's the most comprehensive UI UX design. I'd say more so geared towards UI design. I would say curriculum out there. We have video, UI tests, mentorship as well. This is all optional here, the mentor part, but basically, I look at your designs based on project submissions, and I iterate them and provide you with feedback. It's like the best way to grow as a designer, to have a mentor, essentially. So definitely check that out. And also, what we're also going to do, if you're new to this, a live UI UX review. All the instructions for submitting your UI design are in the YouTube description. Just go to Discord, you join up, and you submit your link, and I will try to get to it if I have enough time. This typically run about an hour, sometimes a little bit less, but we're all going to get rocking here. So my rant, what is the rant about? All right, I have to get this off my chest. I don't normally do this, but I made a post here on Twitter, and this really shouldn't be a controversial post, but people can make things be controversial just because for the sake of being controversial, which sometimes they have valid points, but in this case, I don't think so. I said this: how much of being poor is in your control? How much of your health is in your control? Now, of course, this is nuanced because everybody's situation is different, but I'd say most of it is in your control. A huge amount of it. There's exceptions to both of these, like I mentioned, but the norm is that most people have a tremendous amount of control, more than they actually give themselves credit for. Don't sell yourself short, and don't be complacent. All right, so 33 likes. Most people agree with it. Of course, you're going to have some people who disagree with it, and I'm going to just highlight a couple comments. Poor and poor health usually go hand in hand. Being poor is usually not in your control. If you're born in a poor country to poor parents, I get what you're saying, but it's an extremely privileged view. I think your view is incredibly Western. I don't think the reason why most people are poor is because it's in their control and they don't do anything about it. I refuse to believe that respectfully. Well, refuse all you want, but it's simply true. They usually just don't do what they need to do to better themselves. So what I'm talking about people who have at least access to a computer at home and an internet connection. That's what I'm really focused on. I'm not talking about people in third world countries. I'm not talking about people who can't afford an internet connection, because the internet is the one main thing I would say is the single most significant collection of human knowledge that is by and large free, or almost dirt cheap, almost virtually free, that we've ever had in mankind. You can learn skills, you can learn trades, you can learn all of this stuff. Hell, most of you can learn solely just on YouTube. And I have a lot of hobbies. I've learned so much. And even if you're a parent, you have a family, you have a full-time job making minimum wage, you still can, if you really are interested in improving your situation, you can make a better life for yourself. It may take you more time. Maybe it's only 30 minutes a day that you can allocate towards learning a new fucking skill. Maybe it's an hour. Maybe it's a few hours over the weekend. If you're honestly interested in something enough, you have enough passion and desire, you can change your freaking life. You can learn marketing. You could start a business. You can learn skill to become a freaking employee and make a lot of money. There are so many avenues, and I see these excuse makers sometimes show up. Again, they're the exception. They're not the norm, but there's some people who like to just try to place either health and or your economic situation solely on external factors. It's not true. If you have an internet connection and a computer, you can become successful. This same person posted over here. He retweeted. Here's what I know. The internet is a place for people who don't know anything about a subject to have the hottest take on that subject. If you've never been poor, I'm not interested in your hot take on poor people. Thanks. Okay, I was poor. In 2012, when my freelance business started to fail because I relied solely on search engine rankings, I went from making like $100,000 a year for a couple years, making like $36,000. Like, and based on our bills, we went in debt. I had no money in the bank account. We went into debt by about $20,000 in credit cards because we had to actually use my credit cards to buy basic necessities like food and stuff. We also didn't have health insurance. So I would say that qualifies me as being quite poor. We had to downsize. And you know what? After 2 years, I had enough of it. I was like, I don't want to be poor like this anymore. And I decided to start the YouTube channel. And I hustled like crazy. The first 100 days, I put out 100 videos. Did I make any money from that? No. Eventually, it started to make me a little bit of money, like $300 a month for several years. From like 2014 to 2017 to 2018, I was making $300 a month. And I kept at it because I believed in myself, and I believe that hard work eventually pays off. And that's what happened. So there's no reason, as long as you have at least an average IQ and you have an internet connection, you can definitely improve your life. So I don't like excuse makers. They like to blame the system. They like to blame, where they were born or their parents. Dude, it's ultimately up to you. All right, enough of the rant. So annoying dealing with people like that. Okay, let us start here. All right. Very first one from I am RHT. All right. Sorry, I knew we're completely changing gears here, but I just wanted to get that off my chest. People are they just make so many excuses. It's unbelievable. I actually like what I see here, though. This person, I can tell, like this person, if this person's poor, they can definitely have a career with their skill set right here as is, and they can make great money, And they probably didn't start off just being great. They had to work at it, right? All right, so this is excellent. Did they leave any comments about this? No. All right, so this is excellent right off the bat. I love the use of just these minor sort of graphical assets here, like the little shapes. I like the watermark in the background, very subtle, low contrast, but you can still notice it. So we have good contrast on the foreground elements. Great call to action here. Really solid, what is this? Gilroy, I like that font. Really solid headline, sub-headline, call to action. Very well thought out icons here. I like that. It's probably one of the best designs I've seen submitted here in the years I've been doing this. I would say possibly this color of gray may not be enough contrast, but boost that up just a bit more because I don't think that would pass the color contrast. Same thing with right here, but everything else, this is really solid. Look at that. Very solid. Now, hopefully this is something that you created from scratch, and this isn't just like a recreation of an existing layout, but this is solid. Yeah. So let's do a rating for this. Definitely worthy of a rating. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. I agree, Amir. I think there's a lot of blame to be placed on, government actions, intervention in the economy, and of course with the huge corporations that are in bed with the government, and which is called cronyism or crony capitalism. I think that's a horrendous thing. But at the same time, even under this system, we can all still take action to improve our lives. So 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. I'm going to give this one, this is going to be one of the highest ratings. I'm not going to give it a 10 because of the contrast, and because I do like to see these realized in the browser to see how it's actually going to execute, because responsive design is important. I'm going to give this a 9.3. Yeah, very solid. Yeah, 9.3. It seems like most of you guys agree. Maybe I'm going a little bit higher than you, but it's exciting to me seeing a solid design. Because I'll be honest, because a lot of people are beginners who submit there, and there's not a ton of solid designs. You know, that's okay, because we're trying to work towards that. All right, next up, Eduardo.dev. JVS, what is up? Big launch coming. Very excited. Oh. All right, Eduardo.dev. Let's see what's happening. All right. So we got a little cursor pointy follower thing. I've done videos on that. Hello world. Okay. The alignment of this subheadline, a little strange, being off to the right like this. So I think the biggest issue here is alignment. You've left aligned your brand, your logo, but there's nothing over here. So we're immediately drawn to this column that's established by the logo. Then we have something that's centered line, but then we have another thing that's right aligned. So we have right, center, left. And this isn't even all the way over here to the right based on this white space that's been established from the left. So it's inconsistent alignment. What I would do, if you're only going to have your name up here, center it. Everything's going to fall in a nice axis of being centered. So I would center this as well. And then all this down here, not large enough. If these are actual projects, and they're quite small, as we can see. So we could stand to boost those up in size. Asteroids, yeah, like, and also it's helpful to have actual thumbnails in some regard. Of course, you can always screw up your thumbnails. I have videos on this as well about portfolio thumbnails and how to like best present your projects, because there's a right way and wrong ways for sure. And so I think making actual cards out of these, maybe putting them, especially on this resolution, you have a full desktop resolution, putting them in 3 columns, 1 row, and fill them out as card designs. So right here, it's a little bland, a little boring, and also kind of hard to see based on the size of these, and also with the distraction of the background behind the text. So that's what I would improve. Again, not enough here to really justify warranting a at least having you guys try to rate it. Me personally, I would rate this probably for what it is, probably like around the 6s somewhere in terms of quality. So hopefully that helps you. Next up after this, I have to say, I hate the GDPR cookie thing. I know it's like you have to do it or whatever, but it's just so freaking annoying. Stupid government and their laws. All right. This is a web design, so give me, I think that's how you pronounce it, web design. All right, so good alignment here. The header, that's all pretty good. Although I have to say the web design type is a little bit squashed, a little bit extended compared to the type up here. So it's a little bit strange. I used to do identity and logo design, so that's why I'm talking about the logo design itself. All right. Oh, let's translate this stuff. All right. So it's a good call to action. I like the fact that you use black text, because sometimes when you're using these colors, which end up in kind of like the mid area in terms of tone, a lot of people will choose to use white, and it's just hard to see. So using black was definitely a good idea. So this is a nice solid call to action. Maybe make it slightly larger for the type, but that's it. Sponsor of, this area right here could definitely stand to be pushed down a little bit. And maybe even removed entirely. I'm not sure why you just have one little tiny thing there. It kind of breaks up the flow of the layout. Very good sub headline right here. And this is very good as well. SEO, online store. So I would probably make these a little bit larger, the website, online store, SEO. I can see this is obviously in progress. This isn't finished yet. So this is a pretty solid design, actually. Yeah. Not bad at all. So let's do a rating for this one. Let's check out the responsive nature of what's happening here. All right, so what I would like you to see you do, by the way, when you get to this breakpoint right here, look at how much space you have available. So you can still have your hamburger menu icon there, but you can also stand to put your most important, not all of these, but your most important links. So I want to put prices. I would put maybe projects or hire me. You could have 2 of them right here. You still have all that room. And then when you get down, maybe you can only have 1 primary call to action right here. You still have the room even on small mobile devices. All right, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. What do y'all think this person should get for a rating? I'm going to think probably for what this is a solid 7, I would say. Yeah, quite solid. Thank you for the submission. Next up, is this? No, I have not got to that yet. Okay. 8, 7, yep. All right. All right, easy way to find a perfect property. Lorem ipsum, pretty decent. Login, register, nice image here. Probably came from Unsplash, I think. I think I've seen that before. Rent, all right, so region, apartment, price. The only thing I would make sure, honestly, if you're gonna rely just on placeholder values or floating labels, I'm not sure what the intention is here. Hopefully floating labels, if you're gonna use this sort of approach, is to boost up that contrast. I don't think this would pass at least a 4.5 ratio. So boost up that contrast a bit more. The search button works, stands out quite well. Yeah, this is pretty solid for what it is. It looks like this is an alternate view. Honestly, I would think between these two, of course, you never want to make the assumption that one design is going to perform better than the other, especially when they're pretty close in quality to like this. So you ultimately want to actually test it. You do split testing, A/B split testing. You throw traffic at both of them from the same traffic source, and then you see which one results in the most people clicking search and actually filling out this, this form and getting leads essentially. But if I had to guess, based on my experience, this one would probably be best, just because it puts the call to action, the form itself, center, like front and center, with a simple call to action right here, everything's centered up. So I like that approach. This is very nice right here. Nice white space between the sections. Notice the amount of white space, working very well. The altered approach here, I like that. This works very well. Maybe take step 1, step 2, and step 3, those little sub labels, and just make them probably dark gray. That way, find your property search and book property stand out just a little bit more. Yeah, this is all solid. We'll do a rating for this, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Right, I've done videos on that as well about placeholder values. You want to at least do a floating label. But as it stands, the contrast is too little, especially with a very important form element like this. What font is this? This is Poppins. Yeah, I've turned a lot of people on to Poppins, I believe. Yeah, I'm live streaming right now. I'll ask her. What? I know, I'll ask her when I'm done. I'll ask her when I'm done streaming. I'm in the middle of a stream. All right, bye. That's my wife. All right, I'm gonna give this one definitely above an 8, like an 8.8 or something, or 9, very close. Next web dev, dude, stop that. Put user in timeout. Sorry, I have to put you into timeout. Yeah. A very solid design. We have got some good submissions. Exciting here. Hi, I'm a student of IT. This was the first working web app that I made about a year ago. Well, this was mainly for mobile version. What is a thing that I could improve? Alrighty. It looks like there's some stuff that you could definitely improve. All right. Mainly for mobile, so let's be fair and just look at the mobile version. All right, so what are some things that this person can improve right away? I'll let you answer. Go ahead in the chat and answer. Let me know what are some things this person could improve. And let's think about the UI design fundamentals that we have to work with. We have color and contrast, we have scale, we have topography, we have visual hierarchy, we have alignment. We have all these things that, culminate in what makes an effective UI. So what's happening wrong here and what could they improve? All right, so the use of space, somebody said, it's a little bit off, like in terms of white space. There's some areas where there's not enough, and there's some areas, so there is an inconsistent application of white space. Somebody said corners, they don't like the corners here. That's the least of my concerns, honestly. Alignment, everything does seem to be center aligned pretty well. Logo and nav color. Yeah, so the first thing I noticed was this logo. This logo is like a blue / gradient blue. There's just varying tints of blue on a purple background, and they're of similar tone. That's a contrast issue. There's a lack of contrast here between these elements. So what you would do typically, if you use this same purple, you make it white. If the purple was any lighter, you might actually want to make it black, the logo. So that needs to be addressed. Notice how much this white icon stands out compared to the logo. So it also looks like it might be pixelated as well. I don't think this is actual SVG. Another one is going to be typography. There's a lack of leading. Leading is line height. So you need more line height between these two areas right here. Outside of that, a lot of white space here and here, but beneath it, a tiny amount. So there's inconsistent application of white space. Also, in terms of like UX issue, in organizing the content that's on your page, why would you put the logo here and then put the logo here again? No. Typically, you put a headline, some type of strong headline that helps the visitor understand what exactly is happening here on this page. And then we have some other things like a big drop shadow with a high contrast border like this. That's something that you used to see back in the early days of the web. So I would definitely improve that as well. Just make things more simplified. Get rid of the drop shadow, get rid of the border, and maybe use a different color for this card area. And then whenever you show logos like on this type of background, you want to make sure they contrast well. And they're not consistent. They just slap the logo without adjusting colors. They should all be like white, honestly. Just make them all white if you can. Now, of course, some logos you can't do that, but these ones you certainly can. And it'll just make it overall a better consistent experience. All right. I think we'll do a rating, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best for this. Let's check out the nav. Right, so you don't know what this site is about at a glance, and that's what a strong headline will do. It'll help really address that issue. How's everybody's Thanksgiving, assuming you're from the US and you celebrate that thing? That was yesterday for us. We just went to my mom's house, and we had some people over. Yep, nothing too exciting. So yeah, I think around a 4, 4.5 would be pretty fair for this design. And it seems like we all agree. Yeah, next up. I wonder if that person on Twitter responded to me yet. They probably did, and they're gonna make more excuses. More excuses for people. And really, that's doing a disservice to people. Like, by the way, if you're watching this for the first time and you didn't watch from the beginning of the stream, I had a big rant at the beginning of the video. Scroll probably like around minute 2 or so. Yeah, of course. Wrong again, Gary. I've conceded. Like I said, the internet. Okay, listen. All right. Wrong again. I've conceded. Like I said, this is the internet where everyone has a hot take that they think no one else has thought of. If it were as simple as people think, I wonder why there are still poor people. Oh, right, because poor people are lazy, right? Well, a lot of poor people, especially ones that I know, they make fucking excuses, okay? They make excuses for themselves. Instead, they watch fucking Netflix all day, or a large portion of the day, or a part of the day, or even just 30 minutes of the day when they could be using it to do something else that's more productive that would help their financial situation. All right, enough of that. Next up. Oh, I hate excuse makers, man. Just hate. I was one of them, you know. For a couple years, I was willfully poor, you know, and then I hustled. I changed. I have access to a computer and the internet, and I made use of it, and I learned how to market myself, and I just hustled, and guess what? It worked out for me. It would be the same thing for anybody else who has an internet connection. I don't care if you have kids, you have a full-time job, you can still do it. Stop making excuses. Whew, okay. Yeah, I'm getting fired up today. All right. Now, code verse, home, project, contact, login. All right. I feel like I reviewed this one recently. It has a real similar feel to DesignCourse.com with the type of navigation. I'm not sure if I did this one already or not. Similar color, whatever, no big deal. But I would say move this down quite a bit more and maybe get a better illustration because it feels generic. These type of illustrations, especially with the colors, yeah, you've used the primary colors here, but this mid-gray area, I'm not sure about it, especially with the green on the black background. Maybe make the green like slightly lighter and the same, like completely desaturated like the background is. Coming down. All right. Let's go to DesignCourse.com. I hate how it fills in my admin thing. Look at this. All right, alrighty. Look what that person did. What is happening here? I'm not even going to review this now because it's just like, at least try to make something a little bit more unique. But I could tell it's a bit of a copy. I do appreciate you didn't copy it pixel for pixel though, and you're just trying to put your own take on it. But yeah, I'd say hopefully I helped you enough in the feedback that I did give you. There we go. Coming up here on climate, and you know what? I'm not one to some designers, and this happens with musicians and stuff too, and different other creative fields. Like they get real upset because somebody had a similar design to them. I'm not one of those people. I mean, I think it's you know, a little strange, but a lot of design is just a culmination of you looking and experiencing other designs and just doing it yourself, right? So it wasn't pixel for pixel, so I'll let it slide. But yeah, climate monitor. That logo needs improved because the I is literally touching the A above there. It's like overlapping it. Coming up here. Right, not everyone does have the same definition of success. Like my rant is geared towards people who I don't like their current situation, but instead of trying to take action, they just make excuses. All right. Free JSON data on climate change, public API. I would probably make the public API the hover color, the default state. So not the white. The white slightly gets lost because of the white that's adjacent to it above. But, you know, maybe changing it here to this color might be a little bit better. And then take your eye on climate change and make that white and also a little bit smaller perhaps. So this stands out quite a bit more. Down here we have major issues of contrast. I'm not sure if you can see it. Let me boost this up. See where it says the value for 2021, 11, 25. Obviously, this is kind of an important thing, not the most important element. However, if it's important enough for you to actually put a type element there and show people, then it needs to be boosted. So if I show what this contrast is, which sometimes it doesn't work based on other factors, but what we could do is boost this up. Like this color has to go to at least here, or at least here. Now we can actually see them as you know, compared to like this, you could barely see that. So contrast, big important thing. We want to fix that there. Yeah, a little bit tough to read this type in this section, so I would just take that background, make it darker. I would extend this image all the way out to the left and this one all the way out to the right. Just having that little bit of white space, in my opinion, doesn't make sense. I like the alignment here. This works well. This seems to work well. All right. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. What do y'all think this person deserves? Again, you go from here to nothing, but you have all this space, so you can put your primary and secondary call to actions right next to that hamburger menu. And that's a UX sort of thing. All right. Yeah. Let me know, think what this person should get. I wouldn't say the layout absolutely sucks here. I think there's some good areas that have been executed well. Just some things, you know, in terms of contrast mainly, that should be fixed. Yeah, for me, I'm going to give this like a 6.6 or 6.7 or so. All right, next up is a portfolio. All righty. All right, by the way, everybody, before we get to that, check out DesignCourse.com, enter your email. Sorry, that was like zoomed out way big time. 38 days, it releases my service where I'm gonna take all of you and make you awesome UI designers, all right? So enter your email to be notified when that releases here on January 4th. All right, let's check this out. So I got some issues here. What is the biggest issue that you all see with this design? The single biggest fundamental that's been violated here. Violated seems like such an exaggerated term for UI designers, but there is a violation occurring here. Let's see what you all say. There's a little bit of lag in the chat, so I have to wait a little bit to see your answers. We already saw this one? We did? I don't remember. I don't remember seeing it from a previous stream. Someone said hierarchy, alignment, header issue, the image is too small, alignment, the picture, vector size, right? So I'm gonna say, I mean, it's a toss up. This could be a subjective, this could be just my opinion. It might be white space. I mean, there's just a massive empty area, like a void of white space. Alignment is pretty bad too, though. That could be tied because this menu icon, which by the way on desktop should not be there. If we click it, we have home, about me, skills, projects, articles, contacts. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have an infinite amount of room to place all these, thereby negating the necessity of having to click once to find out what the navigation is and then twice to actually go where you want to. So never put just a hamburger menu icon on desktop when you have the space to put all this other stuff, like your primary navigation. You could do this, but this could be in addition to a primary navigation. Outside of that, hi there, blah, 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 and student, you're not giving anybody a place to click. You're not giving them any direction. So you want to give people an area to go, and that could be in the form of filling out a form. It could be clicking a button, which is most typical, then also a scroll indicator icon of some sort, which usually is best implemented if it's animating. This this illustration down here seems misplaced, and just it could be made much bigger and put right here in a second column, thereby filling out the area and fixing the issue with the insane amount of white space. Then we have alignment. Like if we scroll to this portion, this is slightly off-centered, but it's left-aligned text. We have this over here to the right. We have about me over here to the left, and then we have this over here that's centered. So things are just scattered all over the place, and that's not good design. It just makes it hard for people to kind of follow the flow of your layout. So I would also, 21-year-old student, don't even mention your age. It never works well. It can only hurt you if you're younger. So just omit, leave out your age. Also, this is a large, wide span of text. You want to crush that in a little bit. It makes it easier for people to read. If this is going to be centered, might as well just center this stuff as well. I would probably also get rid of About Me and Skills label. These are self-evident based on the content itself. Major issues with these cards and the glass morphism effect, you could definitely overuse these things, especially when you're combining them with other things like drop shadows and stuff like that. Go back to the drawing board, try to simplify as much as possible. All right, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. What do y'all think this person should get for a rating? I'm going to wait for your answers real quickly. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to go back to here. I told that person who I was referencing on Twitter that I referenced them in this video, and I linked them to this live stream. So for this rating, I'm going to give this one I just need to get off Twitter. A lot of people said 4, 5, 6, 6, 6, 5, 4. I'm going to have to say more like 4s, like 4.5 or so, 4, 4.5, around there for sure. So I actually disagree with some of you who said 6 and stuff like that, 6.5. Definitely room for improvement, but definitely you can get there, that's for sure. So next up is, well, geez, trying to remember. I think this is the one we just did. Yes, it is. Okay. People get so mad, rightfully so, when I skip entries. You know what would be helpful? Maybe I'll make this a new role. If I already reviewed your thing, then just put a check mark react to the post. That would help me a lot. Okay, so I know that there's a very small chance that the person who is Prometheus in Discord actually Fury in Discord actually made this design, because this is one of those award-winning designs. And so I'm not even gonna bother doing a rating of this, because it's freaking awesome. It is a very awesome design. If you are the person who actually designed this, then yes, I'm gonna give you damn near a 10. But I just don't believe it. I don't believe you did that. All right, building nice experiences. Tell me more. All right. So we have a couple of issues, not a number of. It's simple enough. You know, we got white space, albeit I would say too much. Good contrast, colors working. However, vague. This is a UX thing. It's not about the design itself necessarily, but this is, you're not addressing what type of experiences that you build. I mean, do you build huge snake enclosures? I built one once, and to me, that's a nice experience. So you need to be a little bit more specific, and you could do that with a sub headline or in the title itself, like building nice web experiences. So one word, 3 letters can significantly improve this, making a person click tell me more just to find out. A little bit annoying. I think there's I forget what it was. Within the first 3 seconds, a person needs to know what a website is about without having to take action upon landing on the page. So that's going to be something you want to fix. Hyperextended white space between these areas. I mean, I suppose it's okay, but I'm not too much of a fan of it. I might want to bring them in a little bit closer together. Good, solid. Yeah, so this is a really solid way of laying out thumbnails for projects. They did it well. A lot of people will just take an actual screenshot of the page, and you can make them more interesting than that. You can add perspective, you can tilt them. I did a video on this topic as well. I think I have well over 900 videos, so I've done a topic on almost everything, and it makes making new YouTube videos difficult sometimes. But anyhow, some technologies I use, you could space this out a little bit further, a little bit more white space between these areas. Especially somebody on a 4K res monitor like myself and has it extended all the way out, you could certainly stand to improve things for sure in terms of the white space. All right. This is a footer, it looks like where it says the logo, lorem ipsum down here, and over here, email, message, send, no. So I would never put like a contact form in a footer, especially in this regard. You would only ever put like subscribe to a newsletter type of thing where there's one field, not also message field. So just put a contact link and then have a full form to make it easier for people to do. Also, this send button, same color as this right here. That's a bad pattern. You want your send button to stand out more. So what you could do is, oh darn, oh wait, there it is. What you could do is take the background color. So if I take background, and we'll just say white for now, we can grab the hue it's sitting on. There we go. Something like that. That stands out much better. All right, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. What do y'all think this person should get for a rating? I would also say having some sort of texture in the background would definitely help. That could be in the form of a photograph, illustration, or pattern, or just random geometric shapes even, or just simple lines, like a simple illustration of some sort that's relevant based on what's happening here. So yeah, for me, I'm going to give this one, there's some good things happening here, probably like a 6.8. I think it looks like you guys are really rating him for the most part pretty lower. But I mean, there's some good things, solid things happening here. So yeah, around a 6.8 is what I'm going to give this one. Let's see. I want to make sure I'm not, okay, that's the one I just did. I always need to double check now. I skip things and people start freaking out. All right, Figma prototype with the person here and their icons there. Go ahead and move your icon off screen so I can see what's happening with your design. All right, so welcome, Osama. All right, let's check this out. The primary issue here that I see first, starting at the top, the navigation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then if you count the logo, 10 different links happening. So we need to simplify that much more. And so how you decide to do that is up to you, but it just seems like it's a little bit content heavy, too many pages, too many options, and you don't want too many options for people. Outside of that, not sure if I'm a fan of this type. I'm not sure what type of type you would refer to this as. What is it called? Facultad or something like that. But it doesn't really mesh well, I would say, with your sub headline and these other, DM Sans. This is a sans serif font. I would just take this same font, make it bold instead, and you have a little bit more consistency in your type. Also alignment. Notice how everything's up a little bit based on the height of its container. Get that centered vertically within there. Damn masks. I hate masks. Also, lack of white space in your logo section here. There should be a lot more white space, like 5 times as much white space on the top and bottom of this container in the middle. These need work as well, the cards. Can't even read this. Having differently colored titles on these it just throws it off. It throws the consistency off. So you always want to be as consistent as possible when you're applying the various UI fundamentals. So I would definitely improve that as well. Alignment here, a little bit strange. You're consuming, I would probably just rethink this particular section of the design because it's kind of all over the place. Like for instance, quick response happens right here along this invisible column or row that's starting, but then this one starts down here randomly somewhere. So it's things are just kind of misplaced and they're not well thought out in terms of actual layout. So always try to think in terms of rectangles, right? Or columns and rows. All right, this is a pretty big design. I don't have enough time to go through everything. Hopefully what I gave you was helpful enough. Some things were, pretty decent. This area doesn't seem too bad. I would make these a little bit smaller, these labels. Also, slightly extended tracking in typography, which is letter spacing. It's rarely a good thing or a good look. I would definitely adjust that. Just leave it to standard tracking, because you can see where it says letter 6%. Make that 0. Make it smaller so you increase the visual hierarchy between your type elements, your headline and all the stuff beneath it. Just slightly smaller. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. What do you think this person should get for a rating? What do you mean that Figma has the change to option now? What are you referring to? Oh, like can I select these and change these? I mean, I know I can by like copying the whole artboard and creating a new document out of it. For me, like some areas are actually not too bad, like this area, 2-column approach. You might want to make this green darker to increase the contrast. Some people are saying 4, 4, 5, 6, 6, 3, 7, 4. I think mid-level 5, 5.5 would probably be pretty fair for that design. Code in Netlify app. Seems like, yeah, most of you are pretty much agreeing. I wouldn't rate it a 7, but I also wouldn't rate it a 3. I'll rate it a 5, right between. Look at that. All right, next up. This whole section should be centered. This whole container containing the layout. So like, I don't know what's happening here. It doesn't look like I can. But yeah, you want to put like margin 0 auto on that sucker. And it's not working. Depending on how things have been structured, it shouldn't work. But as you can see, the whole thing is left aligned. So we have this big empty white space, but only a tiny amount here. Also, typography here would probably also be the biggest issue. We can see there's a lot of high contrast type with little separation between them. For instance, you're looking down all down here in these cards. You want to, maybe I'll fix the cards real quickly because there's a number of issues in the card designs themselves. So let me just take one and let's see if we can fix this a little bit. So we got padding here. So let's put our own padding on these things. Padding 1 EM, maybe 1.76 EM. All right, so that's better already. Our typographic visual hierarchy, we can stand to improve those as well. So what we'll do is make this color gray, but not that gray because that's not enough contrast. We do want to bump that up, maybe right around here. That's definitely enough contrast. We could also stand to take the headings here. I'm not sure if this will change it. Font size, I think it's a little bit too big. So let's just do 1M unit. That's not working. I'll just work on a specific card. Font size, like 1M, 1.5 M units. And then margin bottom to increase the white space a bit. Let's just do 1 M unit, not quite that much. So we'll do 0.7 M units. Let's do 0.56 M units. There we go. That's better. Again, I would have to get in there and make sure. Oh, yeah, it's 4.8 color contrast ratio. You want at least 4.5. And there we go. This is much better compared to the original. And if we look at the original, refresh, that's what they had. So we can see big changes, just a big improvement based on small changes. Very important to try to get that correct. All the green here, high contrast green, just it stands out too much. I appreciate the actual animation occurring, but these would be best done with just very similar tones based on the background. So either making them slightly lighter and or slightly darker. And this right here, subscribe to our newsletter, a big no, because your email here is the same color as your subscribe button. Somebody did this earlier, and it's also lime green with white text on it, and so my eyeballs are almost bleeding. So you want to, let's fix that real quick, and we'll move on to the next one. But this needs fixed for sure. Background color. Let's grab one of the backgrounds here. Maybe that'll be better. We also don't want to center align this, so text align, don't center it. And then just put, instead of your email here, we can put in email address. And that's better. I could make a number of other improvements, but for now, like, this is much better than what was the original, which is this right here. All right, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. What do y'all think this person should get for a rating? You should definitely check out DesignCourse.com, whoever made this, and join up on January 4th. I'm gonna wait for all of you to respond. Where is everybody? All right, tiering 2, 3. We have quite a delay here. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a rating of. Yeah, you want to get rid of that background or that text shadow right there too. I'm gonna give this a rating of probably like a 4.5 or something like that. It's gonna be on the lower end, if we're being perfectly honest, but you can definitely improve. Everybody can improve. All right. Supraditya. I don't know how to pronounce that, but we're gonna check this out. I was inspired to design and develop this portfolio after watching your portfolio reviews and related videos earlier this year. I hope that I've been a good teacher. And that's the thing, like, in my defense, people who watch me and they try to become, they try to put my ideas into action. You can have the world's greatest teacher. I've experienced this phenomenon myself, like with guitar. Like, I've watched a lot, like when I started out trying to learning lead guitar playing, I would watch a lot of great, not to say that I'm great, but a lot of great teachers. And when you go to do it yourself, it's very difficult. That's why you have to stick with it and make the assumption that, hey, I will get better as long as I keep practicing. So let's check this one out. Hi, I'm blah, 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 front-end web developer. Okay, so this right here is a call to action, and it's a scroll indicator, but I would say the alignment needs to be pushed over here to the left, and maybe give it some animated movement where it goes up and down with some nice easing. Next up after that, this spiral sort of illustration in the background, that's what I would call as one technique of integrating texture in order to break up the amount of white space that's here. That's fine, but I think the contrast is a little bit too high. It should be more of a watermark. So take that opacity and push it down to like half at least of what it is currently. I would also say the section over here, there's a two column approach, quite a bit of empty space in the middle. So you can extend this out here a bit further and try to consume the layout a little bit more, and then centering these elements inside of a second column where the first column is left or right aligned throws off the flow of your layout. So you want to have identifiable columns here, and when you center stuff, you kind of lose the right and left column. So I would probably rethink also putting and making these so prominent, these social media icons or your GitHub stuff. Try to rethink of something else to go here. Maybe take your view resume, put it as a call to action over here instead. This area is a little bit better. You don't want the lines going right through your eyeball and your face. You don't want that. So rethink this area a little bit. Maybe just omit having those go through here, and you can have them kind of just continue up along here. Too much contrast, or not enough contrast rather, between the elements sitting here versus this little watermark area here. Make those far less contrast. So if I take this, I'm trying to find, okay, that's it. Yeah, the color should be like down here. That is what it should be, not up here. You could even go darker, slightly darker like that. That works. Or like this, if you're going to do the watermark approach. All right, so there's a lot of other design, and this is just way too crazy. This has to be low contrast element. I mean, this is just all over the place in terms of I'm not sure what's happening here because we have borders all over the place. So need to rethink that. If this is the actual portfolio, just stick with the conventional idea of just putting cards with really well-structured thumbnails and maybe your headline as well. All right, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. What do y'all think this person should get for a rating? Oops, sorry, I'm like slamming stuff on my table. I forget that I... All right, for this, I'm gonna go ahead and give there's some areas that are pretty decent here, but then this section is really killing it for me. So I'm gonna have to give this probably like, in the 5s or so. Alrighty, let's keep rocking. How long have I been streaming, by the way? 58 minutes, we're getting close. I have to go out, it's gonna be, today's Black Friday. Black Friday here is the day after Thanksgiving, where all the deals are. So there's a bunch of crazy, just ridiculous, stupid shoppers out there. I'm gonna be one of them. I'm gonna take the kids out. My wife's working right now, and we're gonna go buy some presents. Understand, yep, Menon, yeah. So that's one of the things, like if you can try to develop your designs on a 4K monitor to account for people who have 4K, definitely do that because it can break the design and the flow of what's happening here. So let's refresh this. Okay, this person is just randomly walking. Make that person larger. Notice how it's down based on the beginning, I could say, row that's created by the top of this headline. I like the colors. The colors work pretty well. my skills, contact me. I don't like the way you've hovered these, and you made them. There's a lot less contrast based on the one that you're selecting. So if your design already has maximum contrast, like this white versus the purple, which is the maximum amount of contrast you can get based on the background, do something else for having the hover state. Like you could do an underline. That's fine. You can make it bold, although sometimes when you bold it, depending on how you structured your CSS, it shifts the layout a little bit when you hover, so I don't really like that. But you can also do other things like a little bullet point next to it. So there's a lot of different ways for button states, essentially. All right, so one thing I'd like to change right here, I see this often, is having a headline of a certain color, like this is like a dark blue, purplish or magenta or whatever, and then having the description or the subheadline underneath it be the same exact color. We can increase, again, I hate saying this because it's such a long term, the typographic visual hierarchy by changing those up. Maybe we could just add a little bit more tone, which is to simply add more gray to fix that. Also, I would do line height on these. Line height, like, let's just do 1M. All right, so we're gonna do a little bit more, 4M units. That's better. So now your leading or your line height is more structured. So if I refresh, we'll see the original. See, I think there's definitely an improvement there. Same thing with this. Do what I did, tone it more, add more gray. Send message, can barely see that. So you have an issue because you have white up here. I would probably not make these 100% white, probably make this 100% white. So you might experiment with different approaches. You can do an approach of just having no background, possibly. I'm not sure how that's gonna look. Where's the border? Where's the background color? This is another thing I see sometimes people doing, like they'll just do an underline for their text fields or their form inputs, or their form elements rather, and that's confusing to users. So you definitely don't want to do that. So what we could do is, they already put border 0. That's 2 pixel solid white. I'm not sure if I really like that approach. You could do this in combination with a background. So we could do white. We don't want to do full on white, so we'll take this and drag down the opacity. I'm not a fan of that either. So border none rather. We'll want to increase this. You could do this and then make the color white here. It's just a hard color, this vibrant purple, to put a form on, so you might want to adjust that well, make it darker. But the background color here should be white with the text, then maybe the same color as the background. That's a better approach than what you had at least initially. So if I refresh, we'll see the original. Right. All right. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. What do y'all think this person should get for a rating? Waiting for your answers. Boy, there is such a massive delay, or just not enough interest in people to respond. There we go. 4, a 6. Yeah, this is definitely, probably in the 6, mid 6 range territory, almost a 7. I think if we fix a few of those things, it would definitely be a 7+. The things that I talked about. Yeah, for sure. Alrighty, so I've been streaming for 1 hour and 4 minutes already. I just want to mention a couple more things. DesignCourse.com, it releases in 38 days on January 4th, where you will become an awesome UI designer, or at least get your foot in the door to become one through mentorship, videos, and user interface tests. So the user interface test, if you click play now, you can actually see what some of them kind of are and how the system works. It helps you develop an eye for UI design fundamentals. This is a custom system that we in JVS, my admin, built from scratch. So like, what is the problem with this particular card? What's wrong with this design, right? So I would say alignment. Why? Because we have things that are left aligned, but things are also center aligned. So alignment is definitely one thing that should be fixed. There it goes. It looks much better now. But what else? Is there anything else that might be wrong? Well, certainly there is, and I would say contrast. Not enough contrast with these elements right here. So we're going to click that, and we'll fix the contrast in that manner. So then you can click show before, and then show after, and it just helps you through the system, and doing dozens upon dozens of these, which are all sprinkled throughout the curriculum, will help you become a good designer, essentially. So if I show you the curriculum right now, this is what we have so far. There's about 9 to 10 hours of actual video-based content, and you can see all the modules here. So there's different types of modules. You see like the little beaker, that's for tests. Like here's a dark mode toggle switch. It's like, what is wrong with this? Well, clearly, I would probably say color. There we go. That's much better. And alignment. You might not be able to see it, but these aren't aligned correctly with each other. So align that, push it up, or push that down rather, and there you go. So we have a bunch of tests. We also have challenges. So where you watch a video, you download a Figma file, and you complete a challenge based on the task or whatever the given task is. And there's going to be about 15 challenges, with the final challenge being like a big project that you design within Figma, a UI UX design with multiple pages and all the stuff that you end up learning. And then I review it. And so that program will be $25 to $29 US per month. Now we are going to work in parity pricing, I believe. So if you're in like one of these countries where, you know, $29 is a hell of a lot more than what it is, you know, to people in the US, then you'll get it for cheaper. And then hopefully nobody, or very few people at least, use a VPN to try to game that system. All right, so I've talked enough. And yeah, my voice is starting to hurt. But yeah, I wanted to address that rant that I had at the beginning of the stream one more time. Talk about beating a dead horse, but ultimately, you know, your fate is up to you in both health and the money you make, your personal economy, so to speak. There are exceptions, of course. You know, people get cancers. Kids get cancer. People get type 1 diabetes. There's all sorts of things that make life freaking difficult. But I'm not really talking about those people specifically. I'm talking about people who are able-bodied, who have at least an average IQ, and have at least access to an internet and a computer at home. If you have those things, then there's nothing stopping you except for yourself from becoming successful. That's the freaking bottom line, because the internet, like I said earlier, is the greatest resource, the greatest knowledge base of information that mankind has ever seen in the history of civilization. And you can learn to practically do anything. If you, most people have some sort of interest that can just be the igniter, the spark, that can become a full flame with the help of the internet to learn a skill. And I don't care, it doesn't have to be a coder. You don't have to learn to code hashtag. But you can use the internet to learn a hell of a lot of other stuff. Maybe you're into like woodworking. I got into that for a while, and I learned a hell of a lot. I visited Facebook groups on woodworking. I purchased a cheap course on how to build things with wood. It's like I could actually monetize that skill if I wanted to, right? Because I put in the time and effort. I wasn't sitting there, you know, just watching Netflix all day, or I didn't sit there maybe after working full time and dealing with my children and my family, and then watch Netflix for an hour, which I do sometimes, by the way. But when it was time for me to really hustle down and improve my life, because I was poor back in 2012, I foregoed a lot of the crap people do who are in a crappy financial situation. And I made a better outcome for myself. So I don't like people who make excuses for other people and try to say external factors, you know, are to blame for why people are poor. Most people are poor, but they can improve themselves, but choose not to. All right, everybody. End rant number 3. I'll see you all soon. I have a new video probably this Monday, maybe even tomorrow, because I only put out one actual video today, this week. But then again, it was Thanksgiving. I'll shut up and I'll see you all soon. Goodbye. End stream.